Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fall Equinox Wisdom Circle for 2018. I can't believe I've been doing this since 2015. Every change of season, I pull together a couple gorgeous guests and we honor this shift from one season to the next and the turning of the dial of Mother Nature. So thank you for taking the time to be here, whether you're watching live or whether you are watching the recording. Welcome and happy fall equinox. Today is a day of equal parts light and darkness. That's what happens on the equinoxes, the spring and fall equinox. It makes sense, equinox, right? Equal, equanimity, and that's kind of what we're looking at today as we move from summer to fall. In the summer and the winter, there are the solstices, and the summer is, as you know, I'm sure, the longest day of the year, and the winter solstice is the shortest day of the year, meaning the least amount of sunlight. So today on the fall equinox, we honor the light and the dark because they're both essential and they both live within each and every one of us. So what I'd like to do is just take a couple moments to presence ourselves here. I know that it is not easy to carve out an hour of time in devotion to yourself. So I want to honor the fact that you're doing that right now, whether, again, you're live or recorded. So I ask you to just really give yourself this hour and allow yourself to be present and open to what we have to share and use it. Take what serves you to use in your own life and what doesn't, just let it roll away. So if you would just get comfortable wherever you're seated, and we're just going to do a brief meditation and some breathing to bring us here into this moment so we can be fully energetically present for the next little bit of time where we're here to honor this transition of seasons. So just allow your eyes to drop closed and let your hands rest wherever is comfortable, and just bring some awareness to your body. Notice how it feels right now. Notice if there's any spots of tension or pain in any way. And just, if you need to roll out your shoulders a little bit, do that. If you need to stretch. And then just allow your body to become still. And we're going to do a little focusing on our breath. So just start to notice your natural breath right now. Notice the temperature of the air as it comes in your nose and the temperature as it comes out your nose. Our breath is one little micro example of the cycles that we experience in our bodies and in our world, just like the seasons, just like the moons, the days. We breathe in fresh oxygenated air that nourishes our cells, and we exhale carbon dioxide that then is transformed through the plants, through our environment, creating this beautiful cycle of life-giving breath. So now with the next inhale in through your nose, allow your breath to go down to your diaphragm, to the very bottom of your lungs and even into your belly. If you can sense your belly expanding, bring your breath down as deep as you can and imagine that it is shooting right down through the base of your spine into the earth. And that breath is extending like roots connecting you to this beautiful planet and all of life that is nourished by her. Let your exhales come out through your mouth for now. As you just take another couple rounds of deep breath in all the way down to your belly, let your belly fill up. Pause there at the top of your inhale. And then let your breath come out. Kind of squeeze your abdominal muscles, almost like that was a balloon, like you had a balloon that you were squeezing the air out of, and let it come out. And I think a lot of times we pay attention to breathing in deeply, and I want to make sure that you're also really expelling all of the air that you have in your body with your exhale. Sometimes we don't release all the way. We're going to talk about that a little later. And now I'd like you to bring your attention to your lungs. And if you can, just kind of bring your sensory awareness to the fact that you have lungs, that there are these lungs inside your chest that are serving you so well without you having to think about it, right? Our breath just happens. So now with your next inhale and your focus on your lungs, imagine with the breath coming in that your lungs are expanding in all directions. Front, back, sides. And exhale slowly through your nose. With your next inhale, tilt your head back a little bit as you bring the air in, and as you exhale, make the sound of an S through your mouth with your lips closed. Well, not with your lips closed, with your jaw, like your teeth closed. Take another breath in through your nose. Fill up your lungs. We're going to do 2 more of exhale with your teeth closed, not clenched tight, but just together, and let that S sound come out. One more time, inhale. Really making sure you get all of the air out. And bringing your head back to the normal position. Now, just imagine that as you inhale through your nose, you are inhaling a gorgeous white healing light. And with your breath in your lungs, that white light circulates. And as your lungs expand, they almost give a little hug to your sweet heart that's nestled in your chest as well. And release that white light through your nose or through your mouth, whichever feels good for you. Knowing that that white light is a divine healing light that is nourishing all of the little cells and capillaries and all of the little functioning parts of those beautiful lungs of yours. Taking good care, flooding your heart with white healing light. And just take your hands and place them over your heart. And just for a moment, give a little gratitude for your breath, for this beautiful body of yours that works so beautifully to keep you moving through the world. It's such a gift. Important to honor and give thanks. And with your next exhale, you can allow your eyes to open. And here we are. So I would like to take a moment and introduce the two lovely women who have agreed to come on and talk to me about fall. So let me see if I can. There we go. Oh, good. There's Lisa. All right, I'm going to read their bios. So this is Lisa Ringenberg. She's a certified health coach through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Prior to focusing on nutrition, she was a choreographer, so fun, a competitive runner, and taught both dance and Pilates. Ooh, I'm so excited to talk to you. I just got a hit for something we're going to talk about. Lisa has a son, a daughter, and is deeply rooted in Marietta, Georgia, where she lives and operates her business, Kitchen Counter Intelligence. I just love that name.
Yeah.
Lisa works with clients in person as well as all over the world via Skype and FaceTime, focusing on all aspects of hunger, health, and happiness. Amazing.
Yes. All tied in.
Yeah, I love that. I love that notion of hunger. I'm going to jam with you on that sometime. I love that. Thank you. Welcome, Lisa.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's see. And we have the beautiful Hillary DeVille.
Hi.
Hey. Hillary is a coach who specializes in helping clients create successful futures by working to adjust their mindset. She has a strong belief that whatever you think you are is right, but you get to think whatever you want. Ruth. She has helped clients from many walks of life work around the beliefs that they hold about themselves and find more positive options. Hillary's also an energy leadership master practitioner. As an ELIMP, she has been extensively trained and practiced in the study of the assessment of one's energy in 3 areas: how we react under stress, how we engage on the routine day, and an average of both. Mm-hmm. She uses the Energy Leadership Index to assess her clients in order to help them better understand how they're showing up and explore different ways that they might refocus their energy. This allows them to choose how they'd like to respond to life's many circumstances rather than simply reacting. Mm-hmm. Her clients have included everyone from stay-at-home parents to corporate executives. The common thread is that they all want to manifest a life of happiness and freedom from what they should be doing. Awesome. Welcome, Hillary. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for those of you that don't know me, okay. I'm Cristin Zegers. I'm a life and leadership coach, and I am the resident advisor for my new online community for women called Haven, a nourishing and creative hub for the spirit. It is a monthly program where we do a lot of what we're going to be doing here today. We tune into the cycles of nature, and we get messages, themes each month that we're going to be working with that align with what's shifting in the environment. And we use that simply as a portal and a tool to get to know ourselves better. And again, discover who we are outside of our roles and responsibilities, right? Those are all important and pieces of us as human beings, but we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and it's important to reconnect to that real essence of who we are underneath all of this very real humanness. And I believe in doing that, it helps us navigate our lives with greater grace and ease and harmony. And harmony is our true nature. That is what happens in the natural world. That's what we're going to talk about today. And I just think that nature is one of the most beautiful teachers. And anytime we can turn outside and get lessons and messages from Mother Nature, it not only deepens our connection to nature and all of life, but it deepens our connection to ourselves. which is a beautiful practice. So thank you for being here, everyone. Okay, could one of you ladies say something just so I can make sure the video's rotating?
Hello.
Nope,
Hi.
it's not. Okay. If anyone is, oh wait, here we go. Okay, cancel spotlight. Beautiful. All right, so happy fall equinox again. Today is the first day of fall. Raise your hand if you're about done with summer. Like, yeah. So summer is a very yang, right? My background is in feng shui, so a lot of what I teach is informed by traditional Chinese medicine or other Eastern philosophy, but I also believe in being real. And right now we all just live really real lives. The three of us are all moms, all the things. We're out in the world interacting with people every day. And so it's harmonizing, right? Mm-hmm. You have to go and live a real life. And so yang, summertime is very yang, very active, a very high energy, sun connected time of year. And now, today, as I mentioned before, is the day of equal sunlight and darkness. And from here until the winter solstice, the days get shorter and shorter. And that offers us the opportunity to reflect on our lives, on how far we've come this year so far, right? Fall is the time of the final harvest, where all of the vegetables and fruits and all of that are coming to their final ripening. And that's kind of, the root of our American holiday of Thanksgiving, where we harvest all of that and give thanks. And I think that is one really important piece that we need to be focusing on in the fall, is giving gratitude and taking time for reflection for how far we've come this year. And then it is the time for release. And we see that in the natural world through the dropping of the leaves and the dying back of the plants and things beginning to go dormant in preparation for the very yin season of winter. So I know for me, we were talking a little bit before we came on about I love living in a place where I experience all four seasons. And when I think of fall, like here in Atlanta, it's still pretty hot. Lisa's here too.
That's not, yes.
Yeah, which, we're over it, right? But I do see that some of the leaves are starting to get a little dried up and crunchy. But tell me, like I said in one of my emails about this, I was like, it's boot season. Like,
Yeah.
I get super excited for boots and jeans and that kind of thing. Tell me what you guys love about fall.
Me too. I get really excited about the fall wardrobe because we all miss our sweaters and we all miss our leggings and all of the things that it's like the coziness that you get in the fall that you don't have so much of in the winter. I mean, in the summer, because you're just trying not to melt. I live in New York, and it's nice because I'm from Virginia, where we had all four seasons, but fall and spring were like a couple of weeks. And now I'm in New York, where you get a solid, like, at least 8 weeks of fall and at least 8 weeks of spring. And by that, I mean, 65 degrees and crunchy outside. So it's beautiful. So I really look forward to, like, riding my bike in the fall and the clothes I get to wear and the walking around the city. I think in the fall is really special because you get to see everything start to be colorful and everything start to, people tend to be in, I think, a little bit of a calmer mood in the fall. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that the most.
That's a cool reflection. You think about, again, that yin and yang energy. The yang energy of summer is very active. It's very outward, where the yin energy of winter is very inward. And fall is kind of, people get to slow down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And as we were mentioning with our kids, like, routines start back up again, because by the end of summer it's kind of like, wow, like there's no structure. And I think we, especially as moms, appreciate that structure again in the fall. Yeah.
Definitely.
I think come fall, I appreciate a lot of enjoying the outdoor air. So I am not a fan of conditioned air, whether it's cold air or heat. I feel stifled. So even this morning, like I was saying earlier, it's not cool yet, but it's not oppressive anymore. So took advantage of the non-oppressive and just left the back door open for a couple of hours, and just that change of air and the influx of energy that the air brings from outside is everything to me. I literally feel like it changes the energy within my home. And being that I live here, work here, educate my kids here, I'm here a lot. So it's important to me to have that energy brought in. So I appreciate the fact that we can go for walks. We can, sit outside and enjoy it without sweating to death. And really, it's actually the past couple of weeks with the heat. So just having that fall season where you can go out and absorb nature and let it into our homes is very important to me right now. That's my favorite part.
I agree. And obviously, as a feng shui practitioner, I love that. And it's so true. You open up the doors and you welcome that energy in, and that air. There's a different smell to it, like the way it moves upstairs. Yeah, it reminds me of my grandmother's house, actually. The smell, I love it when I walk upstairs and I get that hit of my Grandma Grotti's house from Ohio. I love that. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yes. And so like in that notion of yin and yang, right? In the summer, when it's the extreme of yang and heat and activity, what we need to do for our bodies is to create that harmony by making sure we're staying hydrated and we're not overheating and tending to ourselves in that way. Same in the winter, it's the opposite extreme, right? We want to kind of nourish our bodies. That's when we eat a lot of soups and stews and, hot cocoa and all of that. And we want to bundle up and keep ourselves warm. And that's what I think, and what I thought of when you said about just spending time outside, riding your bike around the city or sitting outside and enjoying the crisp air. In the equinoxes, the fall and the spring, our bodies don't have to work so hard to maintain that harmony, but there is specific kind of work to be done. And in traditional Chinese medicine, each season has a different primary and secondary organ that's affiliated with it. And in the fall, the primary organ that we look at is the lungs, and that's why we did some of that breathing in the opening meditation. I don't know that it's the secondary, it's really the yang. The other organ that is affiliated with fall is the large intestine. And so if you look at the action of both of these organs, right, the lungs is that taking in, like we did, and it's having the gratitude for that fresh nourishment that comes in, that we don't even have to think about, it just happens. And the large intestine dominates elimination, and that's like that second piece that I talked about for fall, where we watch the leaves fall and we get to decide what we want to take with us into winter and what we're ready to leave behind. So this is a beautiful time to pull out your journal and give yourself a little bit of time every day to do that reflection of, what am I grateful for right now? What is the abundant harvest in my life, and give real deep gratitude for that. And also reflect on what it is you're ready to let go of, whether that's an emotion, a relationship, a habit, something like that, that is not supporting you and serving you. And in thinking of the upcoming season of winter, where it's really about only having the essentials, because you think about animals that go into hibernation, they gather their essentials and their bodies are designed to simply sustain life for those quiet months. So we get to choose. This is our time to choose. So I was doing a little reflecting earlier on where I was, like in January, February, March. I mean, and just thinking about what has happened so far in 2018. I mean, did you guys what were you guys doing back in the spring, early spring? Was there anything that you can look back that you kind of, sometimes I like to go back to like my Facebook pictures and look at like what was going on then. But yeah, is there something you guys want to share that you can kind of summarize as far as what's gone on for 2018 that you are recognizing as this abundance, this beautiful harvest that you have nurtured and tended to this year that you want to celebrate?
I do. I spent the spring planning. Spring is a planning time for me. I like that you've brought up reflecting and planning, because for me, in a lot of ways, fall feels like the new year. Maybe because it's the Jewish New Year, maybe because it's my birthday, like who knows, right? But it feels like the new year to me. So every fall, I write a life plan for what I want to see a year from now. And it's interesting. In the spring, I was doing a lot of planning because I took a huge trip over the summer. And so I feel like really grateful I was able to work from away, and I was able to experience 5 countries, and it was this huge, massive trip. And so in the springtime, I was planning for this trip, and then it happened. And it's funny how you plan for something for so long and then it happens, and now a month later you're like, it's like I dreamed it. But I'm able to look back at my life plan and say, oh, that actually happened. And I think what's really interesting about a life plan, like for a year from now, is I generally make it and then put it away and don't look at it for the whole year. And then look at it, and it's amazing how many of the things became true. So that's
super specific. Like,
I actually do get,
this is what my life is going to look like in a year, or do you say I'm going to, like, these are the things I'm going to do or be or become or work on or whatever?
I get pretty specific in that I write down like where I want to be in my environment, what kind of people I want to have around me, what kind of feelings I want to have. If there are specific things that I want to bring into my life, I'll put that, like I want to be doing this for my business, or I want to be doing this for my children. And so I get pretty specific. And it's interesting how it just sort of happens.
Right? That's the way it works.
Yeah, that's the way it works.
Right? You get what you focus on, and
it's true.
You got those intentions.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the moment that you write it down, you believe that it's possible. And then it's possible.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would agree with Hillary, and I also write down things that I'm looking forward to, things that I want to see in my life 6 months, a year from now, or things that I don't have a date at all of when they might happen, but things that I definitely want to manifest and focus on and have them come to fruition. But the point I really want to kind of draw home is that I think it's important, especially with the change of season. So many things happen differently in your life, to be with that and to let it be okay. So I have, a lot of clients who may, they love running, and they run in the spring and then the summer and the fall. Well, then they don't want to run in the winter. It's dark, it's cold, it's miserable outside, it's freezing, and they kind of get into a rut, or they feel not happy about that. Well, I used to run and now I don't like to run. Or I used to eat salads every day and fresh fruits and things like that, and now I don't. And I think it's important to listen to your body through that. So changes that come on with the weather temperature being different, the light being different, all of those things speak to your body. It's in our DNA to react differently towards that season, to eat differently, to exercise differently. all of those things. So I think it's important to honor and respect what your body's saying. And if it means that instead of running or going to the gym, and instead of eating salads, you're eating heartier soups, and instead of, having, relationships outside the house where you're sitting outside on the patio all summer, and instead you're maybe writing letters, that it's all okay. And it should all be celebrated. And odds are when it swings back around the other way, those things will come back. But not to get into a place where you're comfortable with change. That's what I guess the bottom line is, to be comfortable with the change as opposed to fighting the change.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Yes. And that is really like something that I do a lot in my work, is helping us to, especially as women, embrace our cyclical natures.
Right.
So so for example, we have a full moon coming up on Sunday, right? I think. Mm-hmm. And that happens every month. Like, again, nobody's pressing any buttons for all these things to happen. And it's the way from the beginning of time, all of our ancestors have lived in connection with nature and watched what was happening around them and felt it and planned their lives around that. And as women, we have our own cycles as well. And this is something else that I do with my clients, is getting them to track their menstrual cycles. This season of fall is like the luteal phase, which is like typically after ovulation and before menstruation. It's that what would sometimes be the PMS phase, but that's like, PMS doesn't have to happen, or it doesn't have to happen at the extremes that a lot of women experience it. Again, you can work with diet in different seasons, the way that we move our bodies in different parts of our cycle. So that kind of luteal phase is the fall of our cycles as women. And as the moon waxes and wanes, there's stages of the moon that also relate to the seasons. So the full moon is actually the most yang. That's like the summer. The new moon, where the sky is dark, that's the most yin, and that is like the winter. So I just love to play with all of these, like to notice all of the cycles that are happening around, because then we can stop making ourselves wrong, right? And that's what you're talking about, Lisa. Like,
yes.
And men are very different. Men, their hormones cycle on a 24-hour basis, and ours cycle on a monthly basis, where we can't be expected to be the same every single day. And we need to honor that and not make ourselves wrong. Yes. And that leads me to back to the lung, right? So for example, in Haven, in my membership program that I am beginning, it starts October 1st. So with this being the fall equinox, it's the beginning of this new quarter, right? So we'll deal with all of the energies of fall along with specific themes each month. But the overarching theme for fall is the processing of grief. Okay, and this really has to do with all emotions. So the emotion that deals with that is related to the organ of the lungs is grief. And if you think about like when you're grieving, like when you're really grieving, you're kind of heaving your breath. You know what I mean? It's very deep expression. And that imbalance or that disharmony that happens in our systems is when we repress emotions and when we don't allow them to be expressed. And that, I think, is a big invitation for fall. And you made me think about this. Why did you make me think about this? Just for the ways that we talk to ourselves about what we should be doing, right? Illy, you talked about should. Yep. And just letting things be, right? As humans, we have this beautiful range of emotions, and they are meant to be expressed in healthy ways. So when you think about grief, you may not have, like, maybe there is something that you haven't fully grieved in your life. Maybe you had a loss of a loved one, or of a job, or the end of some season of your life that you really want to honor by feeling sad about it. It is okay to do that. What does it mean for you to be sad and for you to express that emotion in a healthy way? That's something that I think we need to spend some time thinking about, and not making it wrong. And noticing if you stay in that energy for a long period of time. One of the things that came up for me is the deep need for support. In fall, and I'll just share personally, one of my, the things I've noticed probably the past few years. Last year, I was able to come into this season with some awareness around this, and I didn't experience it in the same way. But prior to that, I would experience a lot of loneliness in the fall. And I think that a lot of that was my natural sinking to this kind of theme of letting go and grieving. Like, it's okay to notice what I'm ready to let go of in my life. And that's not always an easy thing to do. Let's say there's a relationship that really is something that isn't serving you anymore. Somebody that doesn't light you up, that drains your energy for whatever reason, as an example, and you want to let them go. It doesn't mean that that's an easy thing to do. And so there's probably a grieving process around that. But knowing that my body was going through that, my natural tendency is to go into isolation. And in this season, I think the healthier thing to do is to call on your support team and let them help you move through whatever it is you're having a challenge letting go of. And that serves me because I have that loneliness tendency this time of year. That's just something that I've noticed. So, I'm sorry, did somebody say something? No?
No.
So in addition to taking stock of what we're grateful for, what is it that you're ready to let go of? And looking back to the beginning of 2018, and I noticed for me, and again, I'll just start the share here. The 2018's been a tough year for me. There's been there's a lot of things going on in a lot of areas of my life that are taking a lot of devotion and a lot of heart and a lot of energy. And what I've noticed for the first time, probably ever, is this creep up of anxiety. And that is something that I've been super conscious the past couple weeks, that is something I'm going to very intentionally let go of this fall. I am not interested in taking anxiety with me into the winter. So my work around that is to, one, know the very healthy ways that I can manage it when it comes. Like, I'm super self-aware through all the work that I do, so I can feel it coming, right? It feels like a tightening in my chest and a shortness of my breath. So I do deep breathing. I step outside, fresh air. I'm totally with you, Lisa, with this artificial air. Ooh, you can't get around it in Atlanta in the summer.
No, you cannot.
Yeah. But I try to get as much outside as I can before I have to get a little of the coolness. Yes, and noticing what are the things that are causing my anxiety, what are the roots to them, and what do I need to do to offer myself some relief from from those triggers, if you will. It takes a lot of intention, and it's going to take me letting go of some things that I've been holding on to, thinking that I can somehow control or influence them, that maybe I can't. And that's going to be my work this fall, is doing a lot of journaling, a lot of grounding, and a lot of this is the beautiful thing about the earth too, right? The earth takes all of the fallen leaves, all of our compost from our kitchen, and all of the stuff that looks and feels like waste, and it takes it and it recycles it and turns it into beautiful, nourishing soil for something fresh and new to grow from. So my practice in this letting go experience is to go barefoot on the earth, to do my deep breathing and channeling that energy through my body and letting the earth take whatever it is I am done with so that it can turn it around into something that's going to nourish something new and beautiful. So that's just an example of one of the things, one of my practices that I'm going to be doing this fall, with the intention of leaving this new little budding anxiety behind, because I'm not interested in that becoming a part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it spark anything for anybody else?
Yeah, for me, what I'm experiencing right now is that it's interesting that you say that the fall is time for grief, because I'm experiencing a lot of personal grief right now. And I lost someone that's very close to me that wasn't very close to anyone in my household. And, it was a member of my family, and my family doesn't live here. And so I've been feeling a lot of isolation with this grief that I'm having. And it has sparked like resentment because no one feels it except for me, right? So it's like very difficult to grieve by yourself. And so that's going into the fall. That's something that I'm like really carefully focused on letting go of, because the fact of the matter is, like, I'm allowed to feel grief, right? I'm supposed to feel grief. It's part of love. Without love, you don't get to have grief, right? So it's like they feed each other. And so I've started a new yoga practice. When I came back from my vacation, I was gifted with a yoga studio that opened across the street from my house.
Wow.
Right? And it was exactly what I needed. I lost this person right before my trip. And when I came back, it's like, here, the universe is giving you this opportunity to be inside yourself, but to let it go in a really physical and kind of spiritual way. So I've been like taking stock of what my support network actually looks like beyond just inside my four walls. And that's going into the fall. That's my intention, is to live with my grief as much as I want to. Because we do say should, like, you should feel better. But do you want to feel better, right? I feel like if you can't exchange the word should with the words want to, then we need to have more of a conversation about it, right? Because maybe I don't want to feel better, or maybe I want to feel better, right? So then what do I need to support that? So that's where I am in the fall.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I have lots of little thoughts on all of this. So I think that, especially this year, I too have been going through, everybody goes through lots of stuff each year, but I think letting go should carry equal weight with making room for. And I think we a lot of times think letting go is like this whole act in and of itself, and it's a process, and it's something that needs our time and our attention, and it's a lot of work to grieve and then let something go. But I think if we cut it in half and then focus on 50% of it being also about making room for, it's kind of it gets you a little bit excited about what's to come, or what's possible, or what's going to be invited into your life, because you've made room for it. So if you're letting go of, a job you lost, or a house you loved, or whatever it may be, what's next in store? I'm let go of that. So now I have this space that's open, and what can I invite in and bring in? And that changes you from sad and in the past to a little bit excited and discovering possibilities. And that feels a lot better. And a lot of times, even though we're still grieving, the feeling better is a lot of times what we need. So that's just part of the process, but I think it's generally sort of ignored,
Yeah.
part of the process.
You can even, I feel like you can even take that same line of focus with illness.
Yes.
Like I have this illness that's, and I don't, but if I did, I have an illness that's happening to me. And what are the opportunities? Like, in what ways am I growing with it, as opposed to just like grieving it or feeling angry about it? Like, you're allowed to feel all of those things, but there's also the gift, right? Everything's got its gift.
And the opportunity for change. I mean, I've had so many clients who come to me, who have been diagnosed with diabetes or, high blood pressure or heart disease. And we, in 6 to 12 months, turn it around, and they're living a life they never even dreamed possible. So in a sense, it was a gift.
Yep.
It is, yes. So regarding what you were saying about anxiety, I think about that a lot. I have some family members who suffer from a lot of it, and I catch myself. I'm a very driven person. I like things just so, and I can cause my own anxiety. So I'm very aware of what that feels like. And I think some of the best things I've done, I mean, granted, again, we were talking about our ancestors. Our anxiety is there for a reason. It's there for life-saving measures, so the dinosaurs are chasing you, and to run. But we don't have that anymore. And I sometimes wonder if, because we don't have that anymore, that we now feel anxiety on little day-to-day tasks, because we're not, running from the clubbed cavemen or running from the dinosaurs or whatever have you. And so now we get anxiety over silly things. We know they're silly things, but we can't necessarily help it because we don't have another outlet for the anxiety that is natural. It's a natural part of us. So I like to ask myself when that comes up, is this a life-saving measure? Is someone chasing me? Am I running from danger? Is my life in danger? No. Okay. Well, let's take stock then. What am I feeling anxious about? Is it something at all within my control? Or can I only control my reaction to it? So is this thing happening and I'm like, oh no, this is going to cause a big mess? Well, I can't control that, but I can control my reaction to it. And so what is my reaction then going to be? And it's kind of like a whole outline or a chain of events. You kind of have to work yourself down, the dinosaurs, and then am I running from someone, and is my life in danger, and breaking it apart into little bits until you're just left with, all I can do is breathe through this because it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Or can I do something about it, and let me do that right now so that I can go to bed feeling better about this.
Absolutely. I think that part of that whole, like the dinosaurs chasing me, that fight or flight type of thing that sends us into that state, a lot of it now is because of the pace at which our society moves, and all of the beautiful gifts of technology and all of that, leaves us thinking that we always need to be doing more. We're never doing enough. There's always one more.
And we're never turning off.
Yeah. And again, you can say, is this like a life-threatening situation? But I absolutely love your invitation to think about what you're making room for. And honestly, and especially, like, that makes me think of some of the teaching I do around feng shui when we talk about clutter, right? Mm-hmm. All of the things that we take on live in our energetic systems. Mm-hmm. And so maybe all we're making room for is some spaciousness. Yes. And that alone gives some people anxiety. Like,
absolutely. I am one of those people.
Yeah. When you look at clutter in your space and you have to deal with it and clear it, first of all, we have to look at our attachments, right? What are we attached to, and why are we attached to these things in our lives? These people, these commitments, these habits or routines, whatever, that may or may not be serving us. We need to ask those questions. But what are we attached to? Can we release our attachment to them just like we would our physical clutter, let it go, and then can we sit with the space?
Yeah.
Without that need to fill it with something else.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I work with a lot of people around decluttering their own environment. And one thing that I always ask them is to check out the real estate market where they are and find out how much 1 square foot of their space is worth.
Oh, clever.
Right. And so then, you know, you look at this pile of things.
Right?
Right, exactly. Your square footage is worth a lot, right? So is this thing that you've been holding on to for whatever reason, not because you love it and it makes you happy, is it worth the space it's taking up? And you have to do that same thing with, like, how much is my internal space worth? You know, because it would be better for me to leave that space open than to fill it with something that isn't worth its square footage.
Yeah.
Right. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah. I think that quote, there's a fine line between you owning stuff and your stuff owning you.
Yeah.
Sums perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then when you start to recognize your space as something that can be open because it's worth being open, it starts to feel really great to, you know, say, oh, well, now I have this whole area that is free for nothing or something that I really love later.
Right. Yes. And to let that energy just flow for a bit. It's like throwing open the doors in the fall and letting the air come in, you know. It can't circulate if, you know, there's shit piled up in front of every doorway and window, you know. So, yes. Absolutely. And welcome the spaciousness. And as we move through fall, and again, those days get shorter and shorter, our systems are going to start adjusting to that. And if we remain overloaded, if we remain overcommitted, we could handle that in summer when our natural energy is much more active and the days are longer and all of that. Now our bodies are working harder to keep us warm, getting ready to sustain us through this next season. And, you know, our bodies are waiting for us to create that space. And that's what this season's all about. I want to just give a couple. So feng shui and aromatherapy are the two little things that inform my coaching and my work. And I remember just before I got on the call that I made this essential oil blend for a friend that was going through a really big loss. And I called it Good Grief. You know, if you think about like Charlie Brown. But I love words so much. And it's grief is good, right? Like you said, it's a sign that you loved deeply. So I just thought I'd kind of share the essential oils that I used in that particular blend that support this time of year. And then also maybe we can talk about some foods that are supportive this time of year too. This Good Grief blend has neroli, ylang ylang, frankincense, bergamot, rose, this is a lot, angelica, cedarwood, and valerian. Yeah, I'm just feeling into those particular oils, and I can, like the valerian, the cedarwood, angelica, frankincense, like really kind of deep, rooty, like resinous, beautiful oils that kind of help you to drop in. And then the ylang ylang, angelica, rose, those are nurturing to the heart, but also they're a little bit more ethereal. You know, it's a nice balance of the two, to help on the spiritual level as well as on the physical level, to help you move through those emotions, because you can't suppress them, any of these emotions: grief, anxiety, sadness, anger, frustration, resentment, right? You have to move through them because underneath them, there's something, again, right? Even those darker emotions, there's a gift in there.
Mm-hmm.
What is that that's underneath it? So, and it really, I think it all comes down to love on some level. So, food, like, I just wanted to touch too. I always, when I think about ways that we can nourish and nurture ourselves throughout the seasons, I always talk about eating seasonally, eating locally. You know, what is growing and thriving in your environment, and how can you use that to nurture your body? In traditional Chinese medicine, this season of the lungs and the large intestine, pungent foods are really supportive. So like garlic, onions, ginger. They also mentioned cinnamon and cardamom, which are two of my favorite essential oils too. But, you know, herbally, gosh, you could even just sprinkle those in a pot and simmer them on the stove and your house would smell so good. Do you guys have anything else in the fall that you love to turn to now that kind of we're going to start not, you know, today is the equinox, so it's going, we have 3 months of fall ahead of us. So, you know, what does that make you think of or look forward to?
I find that I change up my essential oils that I diffuse in my house. You know, in the spring, in the summer, I do a lot of like peppermint and a lot of lemongrass and things that make me feel really clean.
Mm-hmm.
And in the fall, I tend to move to like frankincense and clove and all of these like beautiful, warm. It's, you know, the Dutch, they call it hygge,
Yeah.
like the art of being cozy, right? Which who doesn't love that?
Yeah.
And so I find that I like burn different essential oils. Or diffuse different essential oils. I make soup. You know, I'm a soup maker, and I get it from my mom, and end up with like giant containers of soup in my freezer. And just find that it's like the time that I like to store up food.
Mm-hmm. Right. That makes total sense. I also love, like that you said you got it from your mom, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's something about the fall that I think connects us to, maybe it's just, again, the American holiday of Thanksgiving where a lot of families come together and give thanks and honor those that aren't with us anymore. I love that reminder.
Yeah, I think it probably also goes back to the fact that we're moms, and we know that the fall is when you start like buckling down routines with your kids, and they go back to school and they do all of these things. So I think it kind of like calls back to that, you know, like let's just make a lot of soup and store it in our freezer.
Awesome.
So this is something as an integrative nutritionist I focus a lot on with my clients. And again, honoring the season and the change that it brings. We eat very differently in the fall and the winter than we do in the summertime, but for good reason. You know, the concentrated foods are going to thicken our blood. They're going to help keep us warmer. We tend to eat more protein and fats, which help keep us warmer. Foods, we tend to cook on a low heat and for longer times. In the winter, of course, again, living in Georgia, nobody wants to turn on the oven in July or August. And so, but in the winter we do. It helps warm the house. It helps make the house smell good. There's so much more to it than just putting the food in your mouth. Even sometimes just making the food is going to help keep you warmer. So cooking food on low heat, cooking food for a longer period of time. We tend to pull out crock pots and other slow cookers. Vegetarians may go to the grill to make vegetables more dense. You can eat them more densely when they're grilled. Eating foods that are in season, the squash, the mushrooms, the Brussels sprouts, the cranberries, sweet potatoes, all of the things that are in your farmer's market are better to eat now because they have, you know, recently been in sunshine, rain, and soil. They have vitality and they have life force because they've been freshly picked, as opposed to the berries that you're getting that came from God knows where because they're not here right now. And so to me, like getting food that has life force and vitality, it feeds you those things. You know, if your food is dead and cold, you tend to feel dead and cold. So making sure that you're eating things that are in season and contain all those things. And like Cristin was saying, the heartier flavors and the more pungent foods, making sure you add pink Himalayan salt to help aid in the dryness. It actually helps with the dryness during the winter. But those are all the things that I look forward to.
Awesome. That actually, this is about the hour, but I like to end with a poem, and I love that we ended with the talking of the about the food, because this poem is called Plums by Gillian Clark. So I'm going to read that now, and then I'm going to let everybody know how to get in touch with you ladies. Okay, plums. When their time comes, they fall, without wind, without rain. They seep through the tree's muslin in slow fermentation. Daily, the low sun warms them in a late love that is sweeter than summer. In bed at night, we hear heartbeat of fruit fall. The secretive slugs crawl home to the burst honeys are found in the morning mouth on mouth inseparable. We spread patchwork counterpanes for a clean catch. Baskets fill, never before such harvest, such a hunter's moon burning. The hawthorns drunk on syrups that are rich by night when spiders pitch tents in the wet grass. This morning, the red sun is opening like a rose on our white wall, prints there the fishbone shadow of a fern. The early blackbirds fly, guilty from a dawn haul of fallen fruit. We too breakfast on sweetnesses. Soon plum trees will be bone, grown delicate with frost formalities. Their black angles will tear the snow.
Ah,
Nice.
it was beautiful.
I think so too. Gillian Clark, again, plums. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Hillary, so much for sharing your wisdom and your stories and your insights and jamming with me on this fall equinox. I am going to share all the ways that people can get in touch with you if they want to follow you or see what it's like to work with you. If you want to just now, let them know where they can find you, either your website or where they can find you on social media. And again, I will send that out so people have it. But if people are listening and want to jot it down, I want to give them the opportunity to do that.
Okay. Thank you for having me. This has been really nice. It's been what a nice way to start the fall. So I really appreciate the invite. So thank you. My website is ask-hillary.com. It's 2 L's in Hillary. There's a contact page on my website where you can just contact me. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I also thank you for having me. And my website is kitchencounterintelligence.net. And again, I also have a contact page that has everything that you would need on there to drop me a note. And you can also find me on Facebook at Kitchen Counterintelligence.
Awesome. And I wanted to remind everyone that Haven, my online community for women, is open. We start October 1st. Our first theme underneath the umbrella of fall is going to be joy. We're going to be working with the children and creativity area of our homes and all the energy that invites us to explore. It's going to be a lot about play, self-expression, childlike wonder. It's a big one for me. It's something that I think we all could use a little bit more of. And in November, we'll move into the theme of synchronicity, which is related to the helpful people and travel area in Feng Shui. And so Haven is going to have a little bit of Feng Shui, a little bit of aromatherapy. We're going to do some moon rituals. We're going to look at the full and the new moon with each month. So following those cycles, all while working with the overarching theme of the season that we're in. And it's just a beautiful tool to use in self-discovery and deepening into who we are and how we want to show up in the world. So I invite you to check that out at haven.cristinzegers.com. There's no www, just haven.cristinzegers.com, or you can go to my website and there's a little tab at the top where you can click on it and learn more and sign up. We begin a week from Monday. Very excited. All right, happy fall equinox, everyone. Ladies, thank you so much, and keep an eye out for all of the links and goodies from all of us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Stop.